Good evening and welcome to Good Guy Sports. This week we are joined by the usual crew, Jackson, Mike Roby, Blake Lineberger, and myself, Blake Gerke. So we were off last week, and the reason for that is myself, Jackson, and the rest of our family were on a trip to Seattle, Washington to do a couple things, mostly related around the Seahawks. So the Seahawks were nice enough to invite us out for a game because they are fans of the Good Guy Sports podcast. And most notably, that is Karen, who works for the Seahawks in diversity and inclusion. And she saw the podcast and invited us out to the team facility the day before the game. And then as well, we went to the Seahawks versus Dolphins game on Sunday. So just a big shout out and thanks to Karen and the whole Seahawks organization for having us out. Jack, what were some of the highlights from the weekend for you?
Oh, you guys would have loved it. So we started off with walking in the facility, meeting up with our tour guide, Miss Karen, who, by the way, was very nice and loves me and loves us and treats us very nice. And starting off our tour, we checked in and meet up with a bunch of group of people who were very nice and just loved being a part of the organization and this run business and people that really treat us well with different disabilities or in all people that is, no matter where we come from, the race or whatever, that they treat us very well. And then next up, we end up going inside the indoor practice facility, and the players were running all these different drills on both sides of the ball, whether it was on the offense or defense side. And I saw Coach Mike McDonald and DJ Metcalf and Jackson Stickman, Jibba, and Tyler Lockett, and then Mike Bubba, who I got my picture with, while the practice was over, and we just watched and just watched for a little while until the practice was finished, and then after it was over with, we walked on the field and got our pictures with Mike Bobo, who I just mentioned, and then none other than their head coach, Mike McDonald, who by the way was a very nice and handsome guy, and was very nice, and he brought along with his wife with them, and their nice Labradoodle retriever dog, which happened to be some sort of a therapy dog that helps out with different people who treat us well, and who told me that I work with Good Guy Sports, and then yes, and then I told them that I was and then I also told them that I was with the team and the facility and the team itself, and how much I love and I told them how much I love the Seahawks and the organization and the people that how much they love me. And believe it or not, I was nice enough, and he got me the opportunity to run a play on the walkie-talkie, and he gave me it, and then I was nice enough to call a play on it. And one of the plays he suggested and ran for me was Nitro, and that was a play that he decided to run with, and that's for what a preview for what to expect for the game that happened this past Sunday. And yeah, that was a very cool experience, and I got to tell you guys, and yeah, and then once the tour was over, we just saw the different meeting rooms of where they have the draft and private meetings for one of their ownerships and for the team itself, for the organization, and saw the outdoor football field facility where they do their training camps and mandatory mini camps for each season, and also do some indoor like I just mentioned before. But yeah, but yeah, I but yeah, I had a great time with them and the Seahawks, and Miss Karen just was what I thought was very nice to us, and I really love being with her and having her as my guide, and how much I love being with her, and she was very nice, and loved being with the Seahawks. I've been to an NFL training camp facility before, but but probably not in a very long time, and definitely my first time getting a tour from an NFL camp facility.
Yeah, it was really cool, wasn't it, Jack?
Myself, yes, it was, yes,
Yeah.
it was, yes,
So
it was,
Jack, I just
and
wanted to say, everyone can go check out some of the pictures and stuff that we posted on the Good Guy Sports Instagram, and you can see some of the pictures from the training camp on Sunday, and then as well from the game on Sunday. What'd you make of the game? Because we did get a chance to go to the Seahawks versus Dolphins game on Sunday as well. So just, Jack, quickly, I'll ask you what you thought of that game, and then we can bring in some of my other guests as well.
oh man, we had a blast. We had a great time together. We started off with we started us off going on a tour right when we walked in, and and went inside an in-depth closer look at a thing called a sensory room, which, by the way, not all NFL teams have this, but the Seahawks were having to be one of the ones that were lucky to have this. That they had a bunch of very cool, cool kid games they can play with. You can even light things up in colors, and did a bunch of shapes, and you do a bunch of shapes, and had a little kids playroom in there, and all the little kids to enjoy. I thought that was very cool. And then right after we got out of there, we we went out and saw we saw the field, and we saw the field right from the sidelines from the actual stadium at Lumen Field, which to me was a very, and got an in-depth close to VIP experience, which I got to say, it was nothing quite like it. It was a very cool experience I will never forget, and meeting with all the different players and legends, and Seahawks players themselves. To me, I just had a great time, and that would probably something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And I and I gotta tell you guys, it was really worth the trip, and the experience, and something that I will never forget for my lifetime, for the many years to come. That I will certainly never forget, Blake. Really cool experience. The Seahawks did win the game, and but it was a very close. But it was very close in most part of the game. But at the end, the Seahawks always found a way to win the game, thanks in large part of being what it started, as we all know, ha- ha- having gone to Bloomfield for the first time, is that the 12th man has always been a part of the team, has always been part of team traditions, as part of the organization, which was of course which always of course is raised by celebrities of game days, for what has become of a tradition of the Seahawks. And I got to say, Blake, the Seahawks were able to pull away with the win, but win or lose, you're definitely there to have a great time.
Yeah.
But overall, I got to tell you guys, it was a very cool experience, and one that I'll never forget, once in a lifetime. But very cool experience, and I got to say, Blake, a very fun, cool experience, that once in a lifetime they'll never forget. The
Yeah.
Seahawks treated me well, and I will definitely want to be remembered in the history books for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Special shout out again to the Seahawks for having us out. It was a great weekend. So yeah, definitely huge thanks to them for sure. And yeah, like you said, it was a great win as well for Seattle over Miami. They obviously had trouble moving the ball without Tua on their end. So the 12th man and the defense there in Seattle really put the clamps down on Miami. But I guess, Jack, we should probably move into a little bit of NFL news, maybe talk a couple of talking points that we saw from last weekend. I did want to, because I see Mike's wearing a Washington Commanders t-shirt, Jack. So I did want to ask him what his first impressions are of his new quarterback, Jaden Daniels, because I have to say, I was pretty impressed by that performance on Monday night in Cincinnati. Mike, what did you make of his game?
Wow. I mean, it was awesome. We've been waiting for a quarterback for a long time. We've gone through 30 quarterbacks in the last 20 years, if you can believe it or not. He was just awesome. That 55-yard one he threw into the end zone to McLaren, basket catch. I mean, just awesome. You know, one of the not weird, but strange statistics. The Commanders have not punted the ball in the last 2 games. Believe it or not.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's nuts.
Paying that guy all that money, he's just sitting there.
Hey, you know, he's like the Maytag repairman. You don't need him.
Yeah, it's
But,
interesting. I think probably up to this week after 3 games, it seems like Daniels maybe has the most hype right now of all the rookie quarterbacks, you would have to say, right? Because Caleb Williams is kind of struggling. I'm not sure he has too much protection up there in Chicago right now.
Yeah. And Bryce Young is now pronounced Andy Dalton.
There you go. There you go. So, you know, I guess that's why the NFL draft is a bit of a crapshoot. Obviously, you don't want to write anybody off after 3 games.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young, to be fair, had a full year last year. And he's obviously out, but good signs are good for Daniel so far.
Well, and the Commanders got 2 good running backs,
right?
Robinson and Eckler. Although Eckler's not going to play against the Cardinals, he's on concussion protocol. So he won't play Sunday, unfortunately. But you know, our offense is turning around. We just have to work on the defense a little bit.
Yeah, definitely helps to take the pressure off of some of the young quarterbacks, and that definitely helps them succeed.
But the whole town is abuzz with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Mike, does he want to go for it on every 4th down? It just seemed like every 4th down he kept looking over the coach, and it's like, I'm not coming off the field. We're going for it. 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Let's go. Like, why are you questioning me?
Exactly. Well, you know, you're able to pass or run like he can. I mean, you know,
I like the confidence. That's fun. It's fun to watch.
It's you know, street ball.
Yeah, and I think that game in particular seemed like it was all offense. So that game kind of called for going for it. It seemed like.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, to beat the Bengals in Cincinnati, who are now 0-3. I got to ask Blake, with Andy Dalton starting Sunday with the Panthers playing the Bengals at Charlotte, could the Bengals end up 0-4?
Revenge game.
Hey, listen, the excuse of just give Bryce Young some players is gone. And the fact that Dalton's going to play 3 of his former teams this year, I believe.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Well, he threw 319 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Raiders in Vegas.
It's not a good look for Bryce Young, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked pretty great in that Carolina offense.
Yeah, I think he'll have So that's gonna be a fun game.
Yeah, definitely. That's one to keep an eye on. And I mean, Mike rightly points out Cincinnati, one of the teams starting at 0-3, that the track record of teams starting at 0-3 making the playoffs is not particularly great, as you can imagine. And people would have had them at least sniffing the playoffs in the AFC before the season started. So they're definitely a team to keep an eye on for sure. And I can bring Grant into the conversation here as well.
So Grant, we don't want to keep waiting too long. We do have a guest on Good Guys Sports with us. Don't want to be waiting for you. Here on Good Guys Sports. Great to have you, and but I want to get your take on some. Want to talk some football with you. So we'll talk some college football a little second. But Grant, always great to catch up and hear from you. What's new with you, and tell me what's happening. Tell me what's happening on the grounds here in Atlanta, and with you, what's happening, and always great to catch up from you, buddy.
I appreciate it, Jackson. I'm just sitting over here watching the outskirts of Hurricane Helene come right through our town. So it's not going to get bad till a little bit later on tonight. I got my candles all ready, just in case we lose some power here. But
right.
Everything's good.
Always gotta be prepared.
Yeah, 100%. Everything's good. I'm gonna try to watch some Amazon, Amazon college or pro football tonight. But really excited about some college football coming up this weekend. Obviously we got Bama, Georgia. We've got the mighty Clemson Tigers, who you guys know I'm a big homer for. On their road to recovery from the Georgia game.
Yeah, we were talking about it, and yes. And yes, Grant, that was what I would call a whooping on you guys. You guys just like got steamrolled and blown out by this hometown crowd
relax.
of your hometown faithful, Grant. Like, come on, that doesn't happen every day.
Plenty of teams face that against UGA. So nothing.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
Yeah, the Dogs are pretty good. I think a lot. They're going to do that to a lot of folks, except for I guess the Kentucky Wildcats. But yeah, I mean, I was there at the game. I worked it with my friends over at the Chick-fil-A Bowl. I was a VIP host, so I was hosting Coach Sweeney's wife and the other coaches' wives, and made sure they got to the buses, from the buses to the seats, and from the seats to the buses after. And so it was a cool experience to be, kind of involved in that game. And obviously didn't love the result. And I don't think anybody had any excuses, but we kept it. Again, people forget it was a close game for the first half, and then we kind of let them get the best of us there in the third quarter. But I think I still have faith that our team is gonna bounce back, and we scored 66 points and then 59. So the offense seems like it's coming back to what it used to be, and getting to that little bit more high-powered tempo, and running the ball really well, and throwing the ball deep. So I'm good with our outlook. I'm again, got to keep rolling on. You can't let week one ruin the season.
Who does Clemson play this weekend?
They got Stanford at home. So
that's right.
It's the first time they've played, I think, since like 1983. So it's been a while.
Isn't it Stanford's first ACC game?
I think it might be. Who did they play? They may have had some people come out to them, but I think it might be their first one in the true ACC country. So the All Coast Conference is really coming into effect. Really excited about it.
Yeah.
So J-Dog, I mean, obviously you had a great time in Seattle. I mean, what's new up in Durham? I mean, the Duke Blue Devils, how are we feeling about their football team?
Well, I think they're hanging in there. I mean, so far, they're having a great year. Probably not as great as last year, but from a football perspective, I think they're I think they're doing their best. I think they're just
they're 4-0 right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're 4-0. It's all non-conference.
Yeah, it's all non-conference
up to this point.
Playing their first conference game against North Carolina this weekend.
Yeah, hey, North Carolina had a tough one last weekend. They're gonna be hopefully be ready. But
yikes! Yeah, I was gonna bring that game up.
Their defense didn't show up until Tuesday.
Let's see. So I'm looking at their schedule. They host North Carolina this Saturday. Then they go to Georgia Tech the following Saturday at 8:00.
Right.
Yeah. So that I wouldn't say it's a must-win for Carolina. I'm sorry for Duke, but until you get to Florida State, well, it's not a tough schedule, but it can be challenging. But I can just say it's a pretty good. But I can say it's a pretty.
Getting there.
I would say you're up to a great start, but
I think we're still yet to see for like the ACC in terms of the new playoff system how much the strength of the conference play is gonna factor in. Like I'm sure Grant can speak to that as well, where like it does seem like with the new realignment, most of the SEC and Big Ten teams are going to have an argument for getting in with a few losses, given most of the higher ranked teams are in there, where maybe not, a vintage ACC season where you have teams like in the top 5, right? So.
Yeah, I think the conference hasn't, as a whole, has not shown out in a lot of out of conference play, which is not ideal for the ACC. Obviously, you would, one of your bell cows in Florida State end up kind of being a little bit of a stinker, and then that signature win for somebody like a Clemson or like even a Georgia Tech. But you win that game, you think that you beat a really good team, and then you come to find out that they're a little bit less engaged than people thought they were. So I think that you're right. The Big Ten will have a big argument on it. I don't think the Big Ten's that great. Of course, I'm a Southern boy myself, so it's kind of I have a little bit of a bias, but they don't really play. I mean, you watch Texas go up to Michigan, who's a top flight Big Ten team, and they get pushed around their own stadium. You look at your top flight teams in the Big Ten, Tech, obviously Oregon get pushed to the wire by Boise State, get pushed to the wire by even I think they had an FCS team up there, almost kind of take them a little bit to the wire too. So I think Ohio State hadn't played anybody yet. We don't know how good they are until probably about week 4 or 5 when they go to like Penn State, I believe, on the 12th. But they go to Oregon on the 12th, and so you'll figure out if they're which one of those teams wants to be real or not. But I think all the teams have scholarships. The mighty SEC got taken down by Cal. Auburn lost to Cal. I mean, like, it's kind of, we're getting there are some good teams everywhere. I think it's just a matter of really looking at the metrics and seeing who's got the most explosive plays, who's got the most best special teams, best yards, and the hidden yardage in that area. So there's a lot of ways to see how a team's measured for sure.
Yeah, and we can jump to the UGA Alabama game here in a second, Jack. I think you mentioned it earlier. I do want to ask, since Grant's kind of our college football expert on the show, do you think Texas is for real this year? Are they the team to beat, given kind of some of the traditional powers like a Alabama or like a Michigan, not quite what they used to be in the past couple of years? Like, could Texas kind of sneak into the title game, you think?
I mean, Texas was pretty darn good last year. With like they went to the semifinals and obviously lost to the Washington team that was pretty good. So I think that they reloaded. I'd like to see them be a little bit more. I haven't watched too much of them. Obviously, their quarterback's hurt, and yeah, they got Manning back there, but he's still kind of developing. He's getting some valuable game reps that will probably win them some stuff next year whenever Quinn Ewers is gone.
Right.
So getting some valuable game reps there, but I think they're a really good football team. Anybody can go on the road like that and push somebody around in their own stadium. Big noon kickoff, really a big deal, and I think that's always a sign of a really good team. They having that maturity and just being able to go and beat somebody. Now, granted, yeah, Michigan's not exactly who we thought they were, but they're still relatively they're a mid-level team that you got to go on the road and beat somebody is hard to do. So I think Texas will be interesting when Georgia rolls in there in a couple of weeks. Seeing what they're made of on the the offensive defensive lines, because I think they were challenged at Michigan and they won that battle, but I think that'll be a little bit different challenge as they kind of get into the meat of the SEC schedule.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I think we'll see Texas and Oklahoma I think you're right. Once we get into October and November, they'll definitely be facing a bit of a different challenge in that conference, right? So probably too early to judge from that standpoint.
Ask me in a couple of weeks. We'll come back. I'll come back on in mid-October. We'll see it where the chips have fallen.
There you go. And I guess, Jack, we have the Alabama Georgia game at on Saturday night at Alabama. That game is, right, Jack?
Yes. Yes, the game is taking place at Bryant-Denny, and if you recall, Blake, the last few matchups that that are going the hedges between those two schools have really gone down the wire and have been a close game each out. that if you look back in the last few games that they played each other, that once Nick Saban was the head coach, now Kevin DeBoer is at helm, now in charge for this team. Kirby Smart himself. Now this game is in Bryant-Denny, so out of the last 2 out of 3 matchups where Alabama has been the favorite and has been decided by the last few 2 or 3 meetings, that is won by Alabama. And if you go back to the national championship game back in the 2017 season, where Georgia had a double-digit lead going into halftime until this guy named Tua Tagovailoa, which somehow Alabama bounced back from in the second half and just scored a game-winning touchdown in overtime, and then flashback to the SEC championship game where Jalen Hurts was starting quarterback in the second half, and he scores back to beat Georgia. So this matchup for Saturday is really going to decide to see if Georgia's really going to find a way to win this game at Bryant-Denny, because you're going to be going into a hostile crowd environment at Bryant-Denny. A lot of where big plays and stuff where games really matter. It's just going to be hard to come by and live by, because Alabama is so good at home. They are more talented, and Georgia, you look at their schedule, like Grant said, they got to go to Texas, they got Auburn on the schedule, and they got they got Tennessee on there, and who knows if Georgia loses their next 2 out of 3 or 4 games. Might we just push the panic button on the Georgia Bulldogs if they continue to lose games that they're supposed to win? And if Alabama were to win this game at Bryant-Denny, I think Alabama's going to win at home, and they are going to beat Georgia, and Alabama is going to roll against Georgia once again. Mark my words.
All right. Hit the panic button at UGA. I love that. That's music to my ears, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Georgia's slight favorites, which is probably pretty rare, away at Alabama. I think it's a bit of a coin flip, in my opinion. Yeah, I guess we're just not really sure how this Kalen DeBoer coach team is gonna line up against top level opposition, like Georgia. It's obviously a stern test. I tend to lean Georgia just from the experience and the system that's been there for a couple of years. I wouldn't mind seeing Georgia get knocked off by Alabama. I still think they'll probably end up making a playoff, even if they do lose this game, given it's against a highly ranked team. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, obviously, for Alabama. But yeah, I don't know how Grant feels, but I kind of lean Georgia in this one, maybe a close one.
I think, the key to the game is going to be the receiver play, because I think the line, offensive line, defensive line, like neither of these teams is going to be able to push each other around. I don't think it's going to be one-sided in that fashion. So, they're pretty evenly matched in the trenches. I think whoever is going to win on the outside in the perimeter, right? You got 2 experienced quarterbacks. You got Jalen Milroe, who can throw it out, wherever he wants to, and he's really great at the deep ball and can scramble. Carson Beck just, has seen it all. He's been playing there, it seems like 10 years. So, you have that kind of quarterback maturity. And so I think whichever team's receivers can figure out, what and get open quicker and win that battle, I think that's who wins the game at the end of the day, right? You don't really have a bell cow on either side, as with, like you think about Alabama, you've had a lot of transfers leave, and Isaiah Bond was their guy last year. He's gone. He's playing at Texas now, and so you don't really have a guy that you read in the paper and it's like, all right, that's the he's the Alabama go-to receiver, right? So I think, and same with Georgia. I said that before the Clemson game. I felt like if we could not get pushed around in the box, and make their receivers beat us, I think we had a good shot, which, again, obviously I was proven wrong. But the big thing is I want to see a one of those, receiving cores get together and just go win the game. And, somebody's got to make a play late in the fourth quarter, I think, to, get open. And I think it's going to be a field goal game. I think it'll be a 3-point, as time expires, someone's kicking a field goal to win it. And I'll probably lean Alabama just because of the home team feel. But again, Georgia, I've seen them up close. There's certainly no one to mess with for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Mike, who you leaning in this one?
No, it's gonna be close. I think I'll have to go with Bama. I think Georgia has to keep Milroe from being able to pass, but I think he's going to hit a couple bombs. But that'll be close. I think Smart will end up losing to Alabama again.
Yeah, Blake, who do you have?
I'm going to take. I'm never a big fan of newly coached teams.
Right.
I'm going to take Georgia based off of a few things. I mean, the fact that they didn't get into the playoffs last year, I think it's bogging them a little bit. Great coach. Alabama's got a new coach. Saban is out, and I think Georgia's going to take it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think experience is helpful, particularly in these big matchups. Although I will say it might have gone under the radar kind of how much Georgia did struggle last week against away at Kentucky as well. That game turned into a bit of a dogfight there in the end. So, but most of these games in the SEC.
Well, that's why Georgia's number 2 this week, because of their play against Kentucky.
Well, it's South Carolina treats Kentucky like a non-conference. We just went up there and just that was a guaranteed win for us. Put about about 20 or 30 points. So
so I think
tell you what. With Clemson and South Carolina playing some teams really well and some teams really poorly, it could be an interesting year. I just no clue what always happened in that game, but they're beating some teams by a lot and some games a little closer than they should be. So we'll see.
Man, we're already starting the November talk already. The Palmetto Bowl. Oh man.
Yeah, I think if you apply the transitive property, because South Carolina played Kentucky well and UGA didn't, that means South Carolina should be the #1 ranked team. That's what some Gamecock fans might say, but we'll have to wait till November for that one.
That's good.
Love that.
The one game that I do want to talk about is that the one that's on Friday, Virginia Tech going on the road, taking on the unbeaten, might just want to call it the best team in college football, the AKA the 4-0 Miami Hurricanes. Now, I do want to get a quick shout out to your athletic director, Grant's dad, that is, whose team is off to a great start. Virginia Tech, they will host the Miami Hurricanes at Miami Gardens at Hard Rock Stadium this Friday, 7:30 on ESPN. That should be a great game.
Wait a second, Jackson. Grant's dad is the AD for VT, and he's not a Gamecocks fan.
No, for the Canes.
For Miami, yeah.
Oh, no way. Okay. All right, I just didn't know if it was too soon to use that word, Jackson, on a live broadcast. Hurricanes.
No, it's okay. It's all good. It's
okay.
It's all good. I just wanted to
say. Okay.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, it's been a good start for the Canes, right, Jack?
Yeah, they're off to a great start. Let's see.
Well, I know they
so far they went on the road at the Swamp and beat the Gators. They beat Florida A&M, which by the way is not a great football team. They beat Ball State. They've blown out Ball State out of the stadium, knowing that they're not a great football school other than David Letterman, of course. And then
well, fast fact for you.
And then they went to South Florida, down to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, and routed them and beat them in a blowout of 15-15. And now they return home in front of their home crowd down in Coral Gables. And they welcome in the Virginia Tech Hokies, which, by the way, I had the Hurricanes winning. Should be. I do have the Hurricanes winning that game. winning that game in a 2-touchdown score, by the way, and I do think Virginia Tech will keep things close, but it won't be enough against against those Miami Hurricanes down in South Florida.
I couldn't agree more, Jack. I think Dan would approve of that analysis. I think the Hokies are coming off a couple of interesting games the last few. I think they were playing, they played ODU or somebody one of the lower level teams, and they kind of got taken to the wire, and I believe they lost a couple of games already.
It was Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean, so lower level Big Ten team, if you will. But Greg Schiano, they're tough. They got a tough culture at Rutgers. But yeah, I think the Canes roll. I think Cam Ward is just continuing to build momentum for his Heisman campaign, and it'll be interesting to see how they treat the Friday night game versus the Saturday. But I know that they got back on Saturday night very late, as my father rode with them. But I think they're in a good spot. I think Cam Ward and the team are rolling, and they got a great offensive line. That's always a big key, and I think that they'll come out and execute, and it'll be a good test of maturity for the team, right? Like, you got to be able to go in and week out, not on the road. It shouldn't matter. This will be the first bigger game at home, so it should be a rocking environment. So hopefully the Canes faithful show out and they get a good show.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely riding the momentum from that game in Gainesville as well earlier in the year, and like we're seeing so far, it could be a big opportunity in the ACC for some team to kind of claim that spot that Florida State had last year, given their struggles early this year. So yeah, certainly no reason Miami couldn't be that team. So definitely a conference to keep an eye on for sure over the next couple weeks.
I'm ready for I'm ready for the U Part 3. So I'm ready to get a team down there. So get the directors back out and let's go to the U Part 3. Let's get undefeated season, win the Natty, and film the U Part 3.
Would love that. Dan would be riding off into the sunset. Hopefully, great retirement coming his way. If they ride off and win the Natty, I think he'll be. He might be packing it in. We'll see. Hopefully nobody sees this. I don't have any real knowledge on what that means. That's just an implication that I've, that's speculation.
Grant, if you I don't know how often you guys talk, but if you get to talk to them the next little while, maybe tell them there's an opening at a great SEC football school. The AD position is going to open up, and they're actively looking for candidates. So the University of South Carolina is looking right now.
He knows Ray really well. We were at South Carolina for a moment for 7 years when I was growing up. So he has donned the garnet in black. Now, obviously, I can't ever support him going to work for the Chickens. That's just that would be tough for me. But he does live in the state, and he's got some experience. If he can work remotely, I think maybe from Clemson, where my mom lives. Like, I think you guys might have a shot.
Jackson, what do you think about the Chickens? What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's a little
banter.
Idea.
A little banter.
Those roosters and chickens. Oh, I think it just gives me that just gives me so much excitement for being a alum and a fan of that school. I just think Ray and those guys just gave me a lot during my time there together, Blake. I just got to say, let's go. Let's get back to being our Gamecock spirit and just join them and be back to our alums and get right back at it. That's what I got to say to that.
Get them into the Gamecock Club.
There you go.
That's what I'm here for. I'm ready for a Gamecock Carolina Life reunion. That's what I'm here for. Sign me up.
I'm sure it'll be coming soon. Jack, any games this weekend college wise that you have your eyes on? Anybody you think could be on upset alert? I know Mike likes a good upset pick.
Let me think. Okay, if I had my eye on one of the few games for this Saturday played in college football on upset alert, What do I have my eye on today? Let's see. Um,
I think there could be a
how
couple.
about this one?
Okay.
South Alabama at LSU.
I don't know about that one. That's
Oh man,
that's a bit of a bold upset. I was thinking,
Bet the house.
yeah.
at the house, South Alabama.
I
Throw it in there.
don't know too much about South Alabama, but I think they're probably going to be in trouble for that one. I was thinking maybe more so like a Wisconsin going away to USC, maybe something like that. You know, maybe like a Midwest team catching a West Coast team cold or something like that. Maybe I think I mean Ohio State's playing away at Michigan State, but I think they should take care of business in that game. I think
Right.
if you're looking at like a highly ranked team going away, Oregon's going to UCLA, they'd probably be fine there. I think Ohio State would be fine away at Michigan State as well. Oklahoma's playing Auburn in Auburn, but obviously, like Grant mentioned, Auburn couldn't take care of the Cal Golden Bears, so I wouldn't give them too much hope against the Sooners in that one.
Louisville
Yeah, I was going to mention that one as well.
Wins in South Bend.
15 ranked versus 16 ranked there, right?
Yep.
Not that much of an upset, but Louisville.
That should be a good game, though. I feel like those two teams are going to definitely clash against each other quite well. That could be a toss up.
I think I like a future Pac-12 matchup, future Pac-12 matchup, not this year though, but Boise State. I think that the 4-0 Cougars of Washington State are going to go in there and beat them. And they'll be upset because Boise State's ranked 25 right now. So I think that the Cougs are going to continue their tear and try to make a case for themselves to be the Group of 5 team going into the CFP. I mean, they took care of business at Washington, beat it to Big Ten team. I mean, what more do they got to do? They're going to win the Pac-12, I think. I think they already did. There's only the Pac-2, so they already won. Oregon State week 2, so they're conference champions. We've already got them, crowned.
Wonder if they still give out a trophy for the Pac-12. Maybe they make the other team give it out.
Keep it going, especially with the Pac-2.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see sort of how some of the rankings shake up and how some of the lower ranked playoff teams and stuff will go, and to see if it's just going to end up being the top 1 to 4 seeds that end up progressing, or are some of these lower ranked teams going to get in, kind of thing. So I guess we'll have to find out once we get to that eventual playoff stage. But anything college football wise, Jack, before we move on to a few other topics?
I think everyone's I think everyone's forgetting this matchup. That I have the one that I had the one that the one that I have in particular that no one's even mentioning. How about BYU going on the road and beating Baylor?
Yeah. I think BYU could be a team that sneaks in. Why not?
Will Baylor lose 2 in a row?
Right.
Well, that's something that will be a storyline and for all on Good Guy Sports to keep an eye on if that happens.
Jack, got a quick question for the as Grant would say, the All Coast Conference, which I hope he trademarked that because that's fantastic. But is it for every sport? Volleyball, softball, are they all headed to Stanford for these games, or Stanford headed over to the East Coast for all these games, or just football?
I think they are. It's for all sports. Because I think you look at I think there was something about it came out about like the UCLA like having to go play. Their football team's got to go play Rutgers, but yeah, I think that it's for all sports that they're going through, which I think it may change later on. I think you may see a few more moves in the college football landscape as some of the Olympic sports may go back to a little bit more traditional of a model of the regionality, but the football will be all coasts. But I think for right now they're trying this out and obviously going to do what they're doing for all the sports now. But I think moving forward, I think they'll end up maybe making some decisions to cut back on that travel, but we'll see. I think it should be interesting.
Well, I mean, from a baseball standpoint, and goodness, those guys are going to live on the East Coast for the entire spring semester. They just don't have time to go back and forth with 3-game stints. Stanford will be over here for wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
maybe they need to saddle
they'll definitely have some
Charlotte.
Yeah, they'll have to definitely do some online classes or get some do some distance learning.
Yeah, I hope they got the elite card for the club in the airport, because they're going to be in a lot. Jeez.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right, Jack, maybe we can switch back over to the NFL for a little bit and maybe do a quick preview of tonight's game. I know Grant mentioned the game on Amazon Prime tonight. It's a bit of a good matchup in the NFC East, right?
That's right, Blake. That's right, Blake. And we are just about out of time, but I know we want to get this.
Oh, we can go. So we started a bit. We started about 10, 15 minutes late due to a few technical issues. So we can run for another 10 or so minutes. But the tonight's game is the Cowboys are heading to New York, New Jersey on Thursday Night Football. And given the way the Cowboys played last week against Baltimore, this game might be a bit of a must win for them in their current scenario, right?
That's right, Blake. And for what I'm hearing a lot of talk from Stephen A. and ESPN and all these talk shows are hearing that if the Cowboys can't get this win tonight, then what my sources are hearing is that Mike McCarthy's not going to make it through Thanksgiving, meaning that after this game they have a brutal, tough schedule ahead of them, Blake. After tonight's game, they have to go to Pittsburgh. They have to host Detroit. They have to go to San Francisco.
Oof.
And they have to go to Atlanta, and they have to go to Philadelphia and they have to face the Eagles. And then you gotta host Houston in a Texas showdown on Monday Night Football. And then, man, the schedule just doesn't get any easier from there. I mean, you think about it. The Giants were coming off the win last week, what I would be in a statement win against Sean Watson and the Cleveland Browns. The Cowboys, meanwhile, last week were coming off a blowout loss to the Ravens, which shows me signs of concerns. And if I'm a Cowboys fan, I better get my act together, or else they could be in for a long season and possibly another coaching change, which Jerry Jones never does, by the way, and for the in-season coaching change. But yeah, it's going to be a long season ahead for the Cowboys if they don't get their act together and get it done tonight.
I think the key is going to be Singletary rushes. The
Cowboys
are giving
good game
up
last week, right?
Yeah, Cowboys are giving up over 185 yards on the ground. If Singletary has a big game, then
can't win like that.
And they keep the Cowboy offense, keep Prescott off the field. Then and the Giants are playing at home, so I got the Giants on this one.
This just kind of feels like one of those games that the loser of this game season is going to kind of go into a bit of a tailspin, and the winner is going to maybe get a bit of confidence. Because to be fair, the Eagles traditionally have been the other team fighting with the Cowboys for the NFC East crown, and they've had their struggles offensively this year. Obviously, we saw in that game Monday night last week against the Falcons, they weren't really able to establish anything. And then the game against the Saints, they pulled out. Or this past weekend was a bit of a defensive battle in the end. So the NFC East might be a bit more wide open than we thought, given the Cowboys and the Eagles' struggles so far. So if Dallas ends up dropping this one away in New York, that could be, could really, like Jackson was saying, that could set some panic into the Cowboys organization. And, maybe blame some of their losses on schedule. Obviously, the Ravens are a good team, and they played against them last week, but there really isn't much excuse for that game in week 2 against the Saints, where they couldn't really stop anything, could they? They had a huge gap in their defense the whole game. So despite some of the ill feelings a lot of Giants fans have towards Daniel Jones, they do have some weapons. I do like the rookie receiver Malik Neighbors there in New York. He had a great game last week, and he seems like he's really starting to catch fire. And Mike mentioned Singletary as well. So, I mean, the Cowboys definitely can't sleepwalk this game and expect to get by.
Neighbors almost beat us with a catch in a late fourth quarter. Unfortunately, he just dropped the ball. But he's going to be one to watch as well.
Yeah, I like the Giants at home. I mean, I think the Cowboys just have that. I don't know what it is. They just have that stink about them. The familiar Cowboy stink, if you will. They kind of. They have a great quarterback. They got to pay. They're paying all 4 or 5 guys on the team, and it just doesn't feel like they've got the momentum that they usually have. And I just hate it for them, but also, they're the easiest team to not like. And I kind of like the fact that, Danny Dimes has got a go-to receiver now with Malik Neighbors, and hopefully they can get Jalen Hyatt going, somebody who was a high draft pick for them from Tennessee a couple of years ago. So, I mean, Danny Dimes, everyone counts that guy out. He's not that, everyone's saying he's not that great, but I mean, I just keep getting murdered by his guys in fantasy football. So he's got to be doing something right. He's got to be throwing to those guys, throwing Malik Neighbors in winning games. So it'll be interesting to see, what happens. Thursday nights traditionally are always pretty, because of the short week, and, you see kind of a different quality of football. So I think the fact that the Cowboys are giving up a lot of rushing yards is not going to bode well for them. So like Mike said, I think that'll not be good, and they'll get Devin Singletary going, and it'll be a long night for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think I'm tempted to pick the Giants as well. I think the home field advantage, and I think Grant's is spot on there. With just something just feels wrong about the Cowboys this year. It just kind of feels like they're hanging on to the same group for a year too long. And I think we see in the NFL that does catch up to you if you keep that same core, or if you keep the same coach. A lot of people were surprised to see McCarthy return after the disappointing playoff loss last year against Green Bay. So it does kind of feel like maybe this is the year where things start to unravel a little bit for that core in Dallas. So I'm taking the Giants. Yeah. Jackson, what do you think?
Well, I think I'm the only one that's taking the Cowboys, but just for this game. But I think the Cowboys will win this game, but only for tonight. And the Cowboys will win this game despite all of this hype and all those concerns and talk for what Jerry Jones does for this team, for how they can't win those games, and then you just cannot get over the hump, and just cannot win this game, cannot win that game. I think the Cowboys will win this game. They will win. I think the Cowboys will win this game. It'll be similar to they did win against Cleveland in week 1, but it was a blowout. The Cowboys will win this game, but I think it won't be a blowout, but it won't be a huge blowout. So I think the Cowboys will win this game, but the Cowboys will win tonight, but they won't be winning their next few games later in the year, heading to the postseason. That's just that is just my take on it.
And Mike got the Giants as well.
Oh yeah,
I think it's against your DNA to pick the Cowboys.
I'm from Washington. I can't pick Dallas.
You're legally not able to pick the
I'm constitutionally unable to.
Yeah, that's fair.
I love it. Fair. I love it.
Yeah, so we'll be definitely keeping an eye on that one.
I respect that, Mike. I respect that, Mike. Even though I and us, our co-hosts, have different opinions on it.
Yeah, and then just as well, quickly before we sign off here in a minute or two, just a couple of the other good NFL games to keep an eye on this weekend. Sunday Night Football, I got a good matchup with the Bills traveling to Baltimore, a big AFC clash there. Probably expect those teams to possibly meet in the playoffs as well later this year. And then as well, got to keep an eye on our Seahawks, Jack, that are traveling over to Detroit on Monday night as well, which is going to be a good game. Seahawks still undefeated and hoping to keep that undefeated record going over there in Detroit. So definitely some good games to keep an eye on. Okay,
Lots to look forward to there, Blake.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Jackson, Mike, Grant, and of course Blake Lineberger. Appreciate everyone joining us, and we will be going back to our regular show schedule now. So we'll have another show for you next week. But for Good Guys Sports, that will be all for this week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See ya.
Bye now.